We're going to talk about some of the benefits that the earth has by the design of the original canopy above the earth that's stipulated specifically in the Scripture, called the firmament. And God said, let there be a firmament. It is both universal and localized. It involves, it's rakia. So the basis of it, ra, is emptiness or the expanse. So it involves the expanse, but it's rakia, which is described as being localized as well. So we're talking about what not every creation scholar would embrace because they didn't know how to keep it suspended. But our scholars got together, and Dr. Edward Boudreau, who is now home with the Lord, is one of the primary authors of the Crystalline Canopy book back there that describes he was able, for the first time in history, engineers, first time in history, a scholar was able to demonstrate that a thin 2 millimeter thick firmament could be held in suspension above the earth. Okay, so this morning when I got up, I always get up early. I love to get up early. And I took my cell phone and I said, I'm going to be closing the lecture on the firmament and its benefits for planet Earth. I wonder how many other planets in our solar system actually have rings or structures of some kind around them. Well, now, we know of one that has rings, the rings of Saturn. Yes. To my amazement, over half of the planets in our solar system have some sort of structure above them. Over half. The largest of those is Jupiter, and it plays the greatest amount of influence in stabilizing, in protecting us from straight debris because there was a fall and things are exploding in outer space. So it's the largest of them. Jupiter has rings. It has the Gossamer rings. The Amalthea rings, has a halo. The Metis, the Thebe ring, number 7, the supporting effects on the earth. The canopy, the original shield, probably 11 or so miles above the earth, we know from calculations, that's where it said probably. But it rained down during the flood. But in the millennium, it will be restructured again. As described in the original Hebrew Scriptures, the pre-flood model includes the crystalline canopy suspended above the original earth. Genesis 1:15 states that all celestial bodies were created to give light upon the earth. Under these conditions, certain benefits would be realized. If we had that canopy in place, what benefits would be realized? I'll list them real quickly. They're in your notes. Number 1, recharging of the Earth's electromagnetic field, or the Earth's magnetic field. It is running down. When I lectured at NASA the last time, they put me in direct communication, telephone communication, with Dr. Mario Acuna. Dr. Mario Acuna designed the instruments and monitored with those instruments Earth's magnetic field. We're losing that field, and that is critically important. Dr. Carl Gauss in the 1830s, Germany, began to measure Earth's magnetic field, continued to measure it the rest of his life. Afterward, it was taken up by others, and our national archives, secular history, point to the fact that we are losing the magnetic field. And a very fine scholar, Dr. Thomas Barnes, the mentor of David Bassett at the back here. Dr. Thomas Barnes was the one who was able to determine we're losing it at an exponential rate. 1,400 years ago, it was twice as strong as it is today. 1,400 years ago, it was twice as powerful as it is today. 1,400 years before that, it was twice as powerful as it was then. 1,400, wait a minute. We go back about 4,600 years ago, and it was 10 times as powerful as it is today. In other words, at the time of the flood. Watch closely. At the time of the flood, that canopy collapsed. Rains came down. It collapsed. There was a lot of H2O in it and other things. So that canopy performed certain things that would have been enhanced, beneficial for us before the flood, that we don't see today. And hopefully, in our experiments in the biosphere, as we simulate those conditions, we'll see those results again. That is a major, major, huge potential. You got it? But back to the first thought a moment ago. If every 1,400 years the magnetic field was twice as powerful, you go back 10,000 years ago, that magnetic field would have been so powerful, it would have had the strength of a magnetic star, and no life is possible in a magnetic star, around a magnetic star. Just 10,000 years ago. So the evolutionary paradigm is bankrupt in so many directions. Now that's astounding. 10,000 years ago, life would not have been possible on the earth. So the life did not appear 600 million years ago on planet Earth. It appeared by design about 6,000 years ago. Now, so 10,000 years ago, life would not have been possible. 20,000 years ago, and there are calculations to show this, the atoms themselves could not have held together. We don't have all of that time. I mean, we're facing this thing scientifically and embracing the science that we find. So the first amazing effect of that canopy would be its very structure would permit certain rays to go right on through, the long rays, the medium rays, but most of the short wave rays, radiation, the ultraviolet, most of it, not all of it, could not get through. So that would mean it would be assimilated into the field that held that canopy in space. Wow! You keep that canopy recharged, so as we use that energy on the earth, it gets restored. I like that system. Quickly, filtration of most of the ultraviolet. Here's a little schematic. The ultraviolet A would go right on through because we need the ultraviolet A for vitamin D generation. Ultraviolet B it generates even more of that, and we need a little of it, but it's ultraviolet C that is so damaging today that would have been stopped by that canopy, and most of it is stopped by the ozone layer, but not all of it. So when there are holes in the ozone layer, there's higher incidence of cancer. So the filtration of the ultraviolet would have been true with that canopy. Radiation at the longer UV wavelengths of 320 to 400 nanometers, designated UV A, would go right on through. Shorter ones would not, etc.